The invitation. The cream envelope didn't belong in Melody's world. Gold letters caught the bare bulb light of her Brooklyn apartment, spelling out words meant for someone else. Someone important. Someone who wasn't her. Paint stained her fingertips as she turned the heavy paper over. The scent of expensive cardstock mixed with the turpentine and instant coffee that defined her life. Sterling Foundation Annual Charity Auction. M. Rivers. A mistake. The kind that could ruin you or save you. Her studio apartment pressed in around her. Canvas paintings covered every wall. Fire escapes in morning light. Subway faces worn down by life. Wildflowers forcing their way through concrete. Beauty where no one else bothered to look. She should return it. Walk to the address on the other side of Brooklyn where Maxwell Rivers lived, the celebrated artist whose mail she'd received. Hand it over. Apologize. Go home. Instead, she pulled out her one black dress. The Sterling Foundation building rose into the Manhattan sky like a glass cathedral. Limousines delivered women in designer gowns, while men in tailored suits discussed deals worth more than she'd earn in a lifetime. Melody's stomach turned over, but her feet kept moving. The doorman barely glanced at the invitation before waving her through gold revolving doors. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast warm light over pristine white walls. Servers moved like dancers carrying champagne. Melody took sparkling water with shaking hands and disappeared into the crowd. The artwork pulled her in. She forgot her cheap perfume and borrowed confidence, lost in bold strokes and hidden meanings. A particular abstract painting stopped her cold, blue and gray with tiny touches of gold. Hope hiding in unexpected places, loneliness in a crowded room. You have excellent taste. The voice came from beside her, deep, confident, real. She turned. The man standing there looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. Dark hair professionally styled, but somehow still approachable. An expensive suit worn with easy confidence, but his eyes caught her. Warm brown eyes that actually saw her. The artist understands that beauty and sadness often exist in the same space, she said, then immediately regretted how pretentious it sounded. I mean, it just speaks to me. Jackson Sterling. He extended his hand with a smile that transformed his entire face. And I don't think you sound pretentious at all. I think you understand art in a way most people here don't. Her heart stopped. Jackson Sterling, billionaire, tech genius, founder of the Sterling Foundation, the man whose party this was. Melody Rivers, she managed. His eyes lit up. Rivers. I've been hoping to meet you tonight. Victoria mentioned you might be here. He gestured toward a woman in a silver gown, directing the evening like a general commanding troops. Your reputation as an emerging artist is really quite impressive. The words hit her like ice water. He thought she was Maxwell Rivers, or someone important enough to be invited here. Someone who belonged. She opened her mouth to correct him. I've been following the contemporary art scene closely, he continued. Enthusiasm infectious. Too much of what I see feels sterile, created for investment rather than impact. I believe art should make people feel something. Even if that feeling is uncomfortable, she finished. Especially if it's uncomfortable. Something in his tone was so genuine, so unexpected, that the confession died in her throat. They talked. Really talked. She described painting in her tiny apartment, finding beauty in morning light hitting fire escapes. He told her about growing up in foster care, about using technology to solve problems he'd experienced firsthand. I've learned that money can't buy the things that really matter, he said, voice low. Genuine connection, meaningful work, the ability to create something that outlasts you. Those are the real treasures. When the auction began, Jackson insisted she sit with him at the front table. You belong wherever your passion and talent take you, he said when she protested. She watched paintings sell for more than she earned in a year. Jackson bid on works by unknown artists, choosing potential over proven success. When a painting similar to her own style came up, he bid aggressively, winning it for an impressive sum. I have a feeling this artist is going somewhere special. Hope fluttered in her chest like something wild trying to break free. As the auction wound down, Jackson turned to her with an intensity that stole her breath. Melody, I'd like to see more of your work. Would you consider having dinner with me tomorrow night? I have a proposition that might change everything for you. Before she could answer, a woman's voice cut through the elegant chatter like a blade through silk. Jackson, darling, I see you've met our little imposter. Victoria's silver gown shimmered as she approached, smile sharp enough to draw blood. Every head turned. The crowd sensed drama about to unfold. Imposter? Jackson's voice carried a dangerous edge. Oh, this is delicious. Victoria's laugh sounded like breaking crystal. Jackson, meet Melody Rivers, struggling artist from Brooklyn. Not Maxwell Rivers, the renowned contemporary artist you've been expecting all evening. The color drained from Jackson's face. Around them, conversations died. The elegant crowd pressed closer, sensing scandal. Melody felt every flaw exposed under the crystal chandeliers, every lie laid bare. Is this true? Jackson's brown eyes burned with something cold. Her throat felt like sandpaper. I can explain. Can you? His voice dropped to a whisper that felt more threatening than shouting. Because right now, it looks like you've been playing me for a fool all evening. The fallout. No, Jackson, please. Melody reached for his arm, but he stepped back like her touch burned. The invitation came to my mailbox by mistake. I just wanted to see what this world was like. I never meant to deceive you. Never meant to? Victoria's voice dripped with false sympathy. Oh, honey. You sat at his table. Let him buy you dinner. Accepted his attention for hours while knowing exactly who he thought you were. Jackson's jaw clenched. I told you about my childhood, about growing up in foster care, about things I don't share with anyone. The pain in his voice cut deeper than any accusation. Melody realized that in revealing his vulnerabilities to someone he thought was his equal, Jackson had exposed himself in a way that now felt like betrayal. I shared those things because I thought you were someone who would understand, he continued. Someone who had achieved something, who had earned the right to be here. I am someone who understands. Her voice broke. Everything I told you about my art, about finding beauty in everyday life, about believing art should make people feel something uncomfortable. That was all real. The only thing that wasn't real was my invitation to be here. The only thing? Jackson laughed, but there was no humor in it. You've been lying since the moment we shook hands. Because I knew you'd never look at me twice if you knew the truth. That I'm nobody. That I live in a studio apartment barely bigger than your walk-in closet. That I spent my last $50 just to be here tonight. Victoria clapped slowly, mockingly. How romantic. The poor little artist crashes high society and tricks the billionaire into caring about her. It's like a fairy tale. Stop it. Jackson's voice cut through Victoria's sarcasm. For a moment, Melody thought he was defending her. Then she saw his face. This isn't a game, Victoria. And you. He turned to Melody. You have no idea what you've done. The crowd pressed closer. Smartphones emerged like vultures. Tomorrow's headlines were already forming. Billionaire CEO fooled by art world imposter. Jackson, I'm sorry. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I know I should have told you the truth. Should have told me the truth? He shook his head. You should have walked away the moment you realized the invitation wasn't yours. You should have corrected me when I called you by that name. You should have been honest about who you were. Would you have talked to me if I had? The question hung in the air between them. That's not the point, he said finally. That's exactly the point. Her voice steadied. You're angry because I'm not who you thought I was. Because I don't fit into your world. Because I dared to pretend I belonged somewhere I don't. I'm angry because you lied to me. His voice rose. Because you let me believe something that wasn't true. Because you made me feel something for someone who doesn't even exist. The words hit her like a physical blow. Made me feel something. She exists, Melody whispered. Everything I told you tonight was real. The only lie was my name on that invitation. Victoria stepped between them, smile victorious. I think it's time for you to leave, Miss Rivers, before security escorts you out. Melody looked at Jackson one last time. His face was a mask she couldn't read. Anger, hurt, something else she couldn't name. She turned and walked through the crowd. Elegant women in designer gowns whispered behind manicured hands. Men in tailored suits smirked at the scandal. The doorman held the door open with the same professional smile he'd given her when she arrived. Outside, the cold November air bit at her skin through her cheap dress. She had no money for a cab. The subway was 6 blocks away. She started walking. 3 days later, the story was everywhere. Social media exploded with opinions. Some called her a gold digger. Others defended her as an artist trying to survive in an unfair system. Her phone rang constantly with journalists wanting interviews, online trolls sending threats, strangers offering advice she didn't ask for. She unplugged everything, turned off her phone, locked her door, and painted. The canvas consumed her. Dark blues and grays, sharp angles, pain made visible. She worked through the night, through the next day, through another night. No food, no sleep. Just paint and rage and something that felt like grief. On the fourth day, someone knocked. She ignored it. They knocked again. Harder. "Melody, I know you're in there." "Open the door." Jackson's voice. Her hand froze on the brush. Paint dripped onto the floor, but she didn't move. "I'm not leaving until you talk to me." She set down the brush, walked to the door, stood there with her hand on the knob, heart pounding. "What do you want?" She called through the wood. "To talk. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." She opened the door. Jackson stood in her narrow hallway, looking completely out of place in his expensive suit. His eyes were shadowed, like he hadn't slept. He looked past her into the studio apartment, taking in the canvases covering every wall, the paint-stained floor, the single mattress in the corner. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He walked slowly through the small space, studying each painting. She watched him, defensive and exposed. This was her real world. No crystal chandeliers, no elegant crowds. Just paint and struggle and dreams that felt impossible. "These are incredible," he said finally. Don't what? Don't pretend to care about my work now. Don't try to make yourself feel better by throwing me some patronizing compliment." He turned to face her. "Is that what you think I'm doing?" "I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're here." "I'm here because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you." The words came out rough. "Because I've spent the last 4 days trying to hate you, and I can't." The confession hung between them like something fragile. "I humiliated you in front of everyone you know," she said. "You lied to me. I did. And I can't decide if that makes you desperate or brave. Maybe both." He stepped closer. "I need you to understand something. When I was growing up in foster care, people lied to me constantly. Social workers promised families that never came. Foster parents pretended to care until the check cleared. I learned not to trust anyone. Jackson, I'm sorry. Let me finish." His voice was firm but not unkind. "I built walls, high ones. I let very few people in, and when I do, when I share parts of myself I keep hidden, it's because I believe that person has earned my trust. I understand if you can't forgive me. That's the thing." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I want to forgive you. I want to believe that everything we talked about that night was real, that the connection I felt wasn't just based on a lie." "It was real," she whispered. "All of it." "Then prove it." "How?" He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Not cream this time, plain white. He held it out to her. "What is this?" "An invitation. A real one this time. To exhibit your work at the Sterling Foundation next month. No lies. No pretending to be someone you're not. Just you and your art." She stared at the envelope, afraid to touch it. "Why would you do this?" "Because despite everything, I believe in your talent. Because I think you deserve a chance. And because I need to know if what I felt that night was real or just another beautiful lie." She took the envelope with trembling hands. "There's a condition," he said. "What?" "You have dinner with me, tonight. We start over. No lies this time. No pretending. Just 2 people getting to know each other for real. And if I say no, then the invitation stands anyway. Because whatever happened between us, your art deserves to be seen." He moved toward the door, then paused. 7 o'clock. There's a small Italian place on Bleecker Street. Nothing fancy. Just good food and honest conversation. Jackson. He turned back. "Why are you really doing this?" His brown eyes met hers, And she saw the same vulnerability he'd shown that night at the auction, the same willingness to be hurt. Because I've spent my whole life building walls, and in one evening you made me want to tear them down. That terrifies me. But walking away terrifies me more. He left. Melody stood in her tiny apartment holding the invitation. Her phone was still off. The world outside was still calling her a liar, a fraud, a gold digger. But Jackson Sterling had just given her a second chance. She looked at the painting she'd been working on, dark and angry and raw. Then at the invitation in her hand. 7 o'clock, Bleecker Street. She had 4 hours to decide if she was brave enough to be honest. The dinner. The Italian place on Bleecker Street had red checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. Nothing like the crystal chandeliers and designer gowns. Melody arrived at 7 sharp in jeans and a clean sweater, her hair still damp from the shower. Jackson was already there, sitting at a corner table. He'd traded his suit for dark jeans and a gray Henley. He looked younger this way, more like the boy from foster care than the billionaire CEO. "You came," he said when she approached. "You asked me to be honest. Walking away would have been another lie." He smiled. A real one. "Sit." The waiter brought wine. Jackson ordered in Italian, easy and fluent. When the food came, they ate in silence for a moment. The tension from 4 days ago still hung between them, but it felt different now. Less sharp, more uncertain. "Tell me about your childhood," Jackson said finally. "The real story, not the version you tell at parties." Melody set down her fork. "My mother was a dancer. Ballet. She had this dream of performing at Lincoln Center, but she got pregnant at 19 and that dream died. She never let me forget what I cost her. That's a heavy burden for a child. I learned early that my existence was a disappointment. So I tried to make up for it by being invisible, by not asking for anything, by proving I was worth the sacrifice she'd made. Is that why you paint? I paint because it's the only time I'm allowed to take up space. On canvas, I can be loud. I can be messy. I can exist without apologizing for it." Jackson reached across the table, his hand covering hers. The touch was electric, dangerous. "You shouldn't have to apologize for existing, Melody. Neither should you. But we both learned that lesson, didn't we? That we're only valuable if we prove it. That love is something we have to earn." He pulled his hand back slowly. "Is that what you were trying to do at the auction? Earn something?" "Maybe. Or maybe I was just tired of being invisible. Tired of watching other people live the life I wanted, while I painted in a studio apartment and pretended it was enough. Was it? Enough? No." The admission felt like freedom. It wasn't. "I'm talented, Jackson. I know I am. But talent doesn't pay rent. It doesn't get you into galleries or in front of collectors. The system is rigged for people who already have access, and I've spent years banging on doors that never open. So you walked through one that opened by mistake." "I did. And I'd do it again." The honesty seemed to surprise him. "Even knowing how it ended?" "Even knowing. Because for one night, I got to see what it felt like to be someone who mattered. To have someone like you look at me and see something worth knowing. That feeling was worth the humiliation." Jackson leaned back in his chair, studying her. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. An apology, maybe. Some kind of explanation that would make it easier to be angry at you. I'm not going to make it easy for you, Jackson. You want honesty? Here it is. I lied about my name on an invitation. That's it. Everything else was real. My passion for art, my opinions, my understanding of what you were trying to build with the foundation, the connection we felt, all real. And if I hadn't found out? If Victoria hadn't exposed you? I don't know. Maybe I would have told you. Maybe I would have let it play out and dealt with the consequences. But I can't change what happened. I can only tell you the truth now. The waiter cleared their plates, brought dessert they didn't order. Jackson poured more wine. Tell me about foster care, Melody said. You mentioned it at the auction, but I want to know more. The real story, Jackson's jaw tightened. Why? Because you're asking me to be honest, but you're still hiding. You gave me a glimpse that night, enough to make me care, but not enough to really know you. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. No. But if we're doing this, if we're really starting over, then it has to go both ways. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he started talking. I was 7 when my parents died in a car accident. No other family. I went into the system. 5 different homes in 3 years. Some were just indifferent. A couple were actively cruel. I learned to read people fast, to know who would hurt me and who would just ignore me. How did you survive it? I stopped expecting anything good. I focused on what I could control. School, grades, getting into college on scholarship, building something that no one could take away from me. And that's why the lie hurt so much. Because I made you expect something good. He met her eyes. Yes. I'm sorry for that, truly. But I'm not sorry for meeting you. I'm not sorry for the conversation we had or the connection I felt. Those things were real, Jackson. They mattered. They mattered to me, too. His voice was rough. That's the problem. The restaurant had emptied around them. The waiter hovered nearby, patient but expectant. Jackson paid the bill and they stepped out into the cool November night. Walk with me, he said. They wandered through the village, past late-night cafes and closed boutiques. Their shoulders brushed occasionally, each touch a question neither was ready to answer. I have to tell you something, Jackson said finally. Something I haven't told anyone. Melody stopped walking. Okay? The Sterling Foundation isn't just about charity. It's about control. When you grow up powerless, you spend your whole life trying to make sure no one can hurt you again. I built an empire. I surrounded myself with wealth and influence and success, but none of it makes me feel safe. What would make you feel safe? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe I'm too damaged to ever really trust anyone. Or maybe you just haven't met anyone worth the risk. He turned to face her. The streetlight cast shadows across his face. Is that what you think you are? Worth the risk? I think we're both terrified of the same thing. That we'll let someone in and they'll confirm what we've always believed about ourselves. That we're not worth staying for. The words hung in the cold air between them. Melody, I need you to understand something. His voice was low, intense. If we do this, if we try to build something real, I need complete honesty. No more secrets, no more lies, even small ones. Because I can't go through that kind of betrayal again. I understand. Do you? Because I'm not talking about casual dating. I'm talking about something that could destroy us both if it goes wrong. I know. He stepped closer. Close enough that she could feel the heat of his body, smell his cologne, see the fear and want warring in his eyes. I'm going to kiss you now, he said. And after I do, there's no going back. We're either doing this for real or we're walking away. Your choice. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Every instinct screamed that this was dangerous. That she should protect herself. That falling for Jackson Sterling would end in disaster. She reached up and pulled him down to her. The kiss was electric, desperate, full of all the things they couldn't say. His hands tangled in her hair. Her fingers gripped his shirt. They broke apart, breathing hard. No going back, she whispered. No going back. They walked to her apartment in charged silence, up the narrow stairs to her studio, inside, surrounded by her paintings and her poverty and her truth. Jackson pulled her close again. Show me everything. No more hiding, she kissed him, led him to her mattress on the floor. They made love with the urgency of 2 people who'd been starving without knowing it. Afterwards, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her skin. I'm falling for you, he said into the darkness, and it terrifies me. Good, it should. Why good? Because if you weren't scared, it wouldn't matter. Fear means you care, means you have something to lose. He held her tighter. I have everything to lose. They fell asleep that way. wrapped around each other like they could keep the world out through proximity alone. Melody woke first as dawn broke through the single window. Jackson was still asleep, his face peaceful in a way she'd never seen before. Vulnerable, young, real. Her phone was still off. The world outside still thought she was a fraud, but in this moment, in this tiny apartment with this complicated man, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Then Jackson's phone rang. He reached for it automatically, still half asleep. Glanced at the screen. His entire body went rigid. "What is it?" she asked. He sat up, suddenly alert. Suddenly the CEO again. "It's Victoria." "Don't answer it. I have to." He stood, pulling on his jeans. "She wouldn't call unless it was important," he answered, listened. His face went pale. "When?" he asked. "How long ago?" A pause. "I'm on my way," he hung up. Started pulling on his shirt. "Jackson, what's wrong?" He turned to her and his eyes were cold again. Guarded. The walls she'd thought they'd broken through were back up, higher than ever. "I have to go." "What happened?" "The foundation's accounts have been compromised. Someone leaked donor information, private financial records, everything. Oh God, I'm so sorry. Victoria thinks it was an inside job. Someone with access to the system." He grabbed his jacket. "Someone I trusted." The implication hung in the air like poison. "You don't think I don't know what to think." His voice was flat. "But I need you to be very clear with me right now. Did you have any contact with the media after the auction? Any interviews? Any conversations about the foundation?" "No. I told you I unplugged everything." "Did you tell anyone about our conversation that night? About what I shared?" "No one." "Jackson, I would never—" "Your phone has been off for 4 days. That's a long time. Long enough for someone to get desperate." The accusation hit her like ice water. "You think I did this. You think I'm trying to blackmail you or something. I think the timing is suspicious. I think I told you things no one else knows. And now those things are being leaked." She stood, pulling the sheet around her. "Get out, Melody, get out. If you can stand here, in my home, after what we just shared, and accuse me of betraying you, then you don't know me at all, and you never will. I'm just trying to protect yourself. I know. That's all you've ever done." Her voice broke. "I thought maybe you were different, that maybe we could actually trust each other. But you're just like everyone else. The second things get hard, you look for someone to blame. This isn't personal. Everything is personal, Jackson. That's what you don't understand. You can't separate your business from your heart. You can't give me your body and then take back your trust when it's convenient." He stood there, torn. She could see the war happening behind his eyes. Fear versus faith. Protection versus risk. Fear won. "I have to go," he said again. "Then go." He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the knob. "Melody, I'm sorry." "No, you're not. You're relieved. This gives you an excuse to run before you get hurt, before you have to actually risk something real." He left without another word. Melody sank onto the mattress, still warm from his body. The sun was fully up now, harsh light exposing every crack and stain in her tiny apartment. She'd been a fool to think this could work, to believe that love could bridge the gap between their worlds. Her phone was still off. She turned it on. 73 missed calls. Hundreds of texts. Her inbox flooded with messages, and one email that made her blood run cold. Subject: a proposition you can't refuse. She opened it. Inside was a photo of her and Jackson from last night. Walking together, kissing in the streetlight, entering her building. Below the photo, a message. Tell the world what Jackson Sterling really said at that auction. Tell them about his childhood, his fears, his secrets. Do it and I'll make sure your career takes off. Refuse and these photos go public anyway, but you get nothing. You have 24 hours. Choose wisely. The email was from Victoria. The betrayal Melody stared at the email, hands shaking. Victoria. Of course it was Victoria. She read it again, trying to make sense of the threat. Victoria wanted her to expose Jackson's secrets. The vulnerabilities he'd shared, the childhood trauma, the fears that kept him awake at night. Everything private and raw and real, in exchange for what? A career. Recognition. everything she'd ever wanted. Her finger hovered over the delete button. Then she thought about her studio apartment. About the paintings no one would ever see. About spending her last $50 just to feel like she mattered for one night. About being invisible her whole life while other people lived the dreams she couldn't reach. She closed the email. Didn't delete it. Didn't respond. Just closed it. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered without thinking. Miss Rivers, this is Amanda Chen from the New York Times. I'd love to speak with you about your relationship with Jackson Sterling and the recent security breach at his foundation. Melody hung up. It rang again. Different number. Miss Rivers, I'm calling from... She turned the phone off. Threw it across the room, the walls pressed in, paint-stained, covered in canvases that suddenly felt like prison bars. Dreams that would never be real, talent that would never be recognized. A life spent invisible while people with connections and money and access got everything, unless she took what Victoria offered. She dressed quickly. Jeans, boots, jacket, walked out into the November morning. The city was alive with people going to jobs, meeting friends, living lives that had meaning and purpose and direction. She walked for hours. Through Brooklyn, across the bridge into Manhattan, past the Sterling Foundation building with its glass walls and impossible heights, past galleries she'd never get into, cafes she couldn't afford. Her phone was off, but Victoria's offer followed her anyway. Whispering in her head, 24 hours to choose. She ended up at a small park in the village, sat on a bench watching pigeons fight over a discarded sandwich. Her breath made clouds in the cold air. You look like someone trying to outrun herself. Melody looked up. An older woman sat on the other end of the bench. Gray hair, kind eyes, paint under her fingernails. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's done the same thing. The woman smiled. I'm Ruth, Melody, artist. How did you know? Ruth gestured to Melody's hands. Paint stains that never quite washed out. Takes one to know one. What are you running from, Melody? A choice I don't want to make. The hard ones usually are the ones we don't want. Melody laughed, but there was no humor in it. Someone offered me everything I've ever wanted. Recognition, success, a real career. All I have to do is betray someone I care about. Ruth was quiet for a moment. What does the person you care about think about your career? He gave me an opportunity, a chance to exhibit at his foundation. But then he accused me of betraying him, ran away the second things got complicated. So he hurt you? Yes. And now you're thinking about hurting him back, evening the score. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of being noble and invisible while everyone else gets what they want. Ruth reached into her bag, pulled out a worn sketchbook, opened it to a page filled with delicate watercolors. Flowers. Light. Beauty captured in careful strokes. I painted these 40 years ago, she said. When I was your age, someone offered me a show at a prestigious gallery. All I had to do was sleep with the owner. I said no, because it was wrong, because it would have poisoned everything after. Every success would have been tainted by how I got it. Every painting would have been a reminder of what I'd traded. Did you regret it? Every day for 10 years. I watched other artists, less talented ones, get opportunities I deserved. I struggled. I waitressed. I painted in apartments smaller than yours, and I hated myself for being too proud to do what needed to be done. So you're saying I should take the offer? I'm saying I didn't. And eventually, 20 years later, I got my gallery show. On my own terms, with my integrity intact. And you know what I discovered? What? That success built on betrayal isn't success at all. It's just another form of invisibility. Because the person you become to get what you want isn't someone you can live with. Ruth closed the sketchbook. Stood to leave. Whatever you decide, Melody, make sure you can look at yourself in the mirror after. That's the only thing that matters in the end. She walked away, leaving Melody alone with pigeons and cold air and a choice that felt impossible. Melody pulled her phone from her pocket, turned it on. The messages flooded in again. Journalists, strangers, offers, and threats and opinions from people who didn't know her. She opened Victoria's email one more time, read it slowly, then she made her choice. The Sterling Foundation. Lobby felt different in daylight. Less elegant, more sterile. The receptionist looked up with professional suspicion when Melody approached. I'm here to see Jackson Sterling. Do you have an appointment? No, but he'll want to see me. Tell him it's Melody Rivers. The receptionist made a call, whispered into the phone, looked surprised at whatever response she got. 23rd floor. He'll meet you there. The elevator ride felt endless. Melody rehearsed what she'd say, how she'd explain, what she'd reveal. Her reflection in the polished doors looked pale, determined, scared. The doors opened. Jackson stood waiting, still in the same clothes from this morning, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't done anything but work and worry. Melody, I didn't expect. We need to talk. Somewhere private. He led her to his office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, expensive furniture, art on the walls, success made visible in every detail. She closed the door behind them. I got an email from Victoria, she said without preamble. She's behind the security breach. She wants me to expose everything you told me about your childhood, your fears, your secrets. In exchange, she'll make sure I have a career. Jackson went very still. And I came here to tell you before I respond. Why? Because you deserve to know. Because whatever you think of me, I'm not going to blindside you. That's not an answer. Are you taking her offer? Melody walked to the window, looked out at the city spreading below them, millions of people fighting for their dreams, most of them failing. Do you know what it's like to be invisible, Jackson? To have talent and passion and something real to offer, but no way to make anyone see it? To watch less talented people succeed because they had connections or money or just plain luck? I grew up in foster care, Melody. I know exactly what it's like to be invisible. Then you know how tempting this is, how much I want to say yes, to take what's being offered and finally matter to someone. But, she turned to face him, but I can't betray you, even though you accused me this morning, even though you ran the second things got hard, even though you proved that you don't trust me and probably never will, I still can't do it. Jackson's face was unreadable. Why not? Because I know what it cost you to tell me those things. Because I understand what trust means to someone who's been hurt as many times as you have. And because if I betray you, I become exactly what my mother always said I was, someone who ruins beautiful things. The silence stretched between them. I'm sorry, Jackson said finally, for this morning, for accusing you, for running. I know. That's it? Just I know. What do you want me to say, Jackson? That it's okay? That I understand? I do understand. But understanding doesn't make it hurt less. You chose fear over faith. You chose to protect yourself instead of believing in us. You're right. He moved closer, and I was wrong. Victoria confessed an hour ago. She's been planning this for months. The security breach, the leaked information, setting you up to take the fall. She wanted to destroy both of us. Why? Because I rejected her. Years ago, before the foundation. She's been waiting for a chance to hurt me ever since. And when you showed up at that auction, she saw her opportunity. So I was just a weapon in someone else's revenge. No, you were never just anything. He reached for her hand. You were real. You are real. Everything I felt that night, everything I feel now, that's all real. Melody pulled her hand away, but not real enough. Not enough to trust me when it mattered. I'm trying to fix that. You can't fix it, Jackson. You can apologize. You can explain. But you can't undo the fact that when things got hard, your first instinct was to doubt me, and that will always be there between us. So what are you saying? She took a breath. I'm saying I'm going to respond to Victoria's email. I'm going to tell her no. I'm going to forward her email to you so you can handle it legally. And then I'm going to walk away. Melody, please. I came here to tell you the truth because you deserve to know. But I'm not staying. I'm not going to spend my life waiting for you to trust me. I'm not going to keep proving myself over and over because you're too damaged to believe in anything good. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it's honest. And wasn't that the deal? Complete honesty? Jackson's jaw clenched. I love you. The words hung in the air like a grenade. Don't, Melody whispered. Don't say that now. Don't use those words as a weapon to make me stay. It's not a weapon. It's the truth. I love you. I've probably loved you since that first conversation at the auction. And yes, I'm terrified. Yes, I ran. Yes, I doubted you. But I'm here now asking you to give me another chance. I gave you a second chance, and you threw it away the moment things got complicated. Then give me a third chance. A fourth. However many it takes. That's not how love works, Jackson. I can't keep sacrificing my self-respect every time you get scared. I can't keep proving I'm worthy of your trust. Either you believe in me or you don't. I believe in you. No, you believe in the idea of me. You believe in the connection we had. But you don't believe in me enough to choose me over your fear. And until you do, this will never work. She moved toward the door. The exhibition, Jackson said. The invitation I gave you. It still stands. No strings. No expectations. Just your art and the opportunity you deserve. Melody stopped with her hand on the door. Why? Because you're talented. Because your work deserves to be seen. And because maybe, if you'll let me, I can prove that I'm not just running away. I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. She opened the door. Paused. Jackson. Yes? I hope you find whatever you're looking for. I hope you learn to trust someone someday. But it can't be me. I can't be the person who teaches you how to love at the cost of my own heart. She walked out, rode the elevator down, stepped back into the November cold. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out. An email notification from Victoria. Time's running out, Melody. 24 hours. Choose wisely. Melody opened a reply. Typed quickly. I choose myself. Here's what you can do with your offer. She attached Victoria's original email, CC'd Jackson's legal team, and hit send. Then she blocked Victoria's number, deleted the email, turned off her phone, and walked home to paint. 3 weeks passed. Melody threw herself into her work. Canvas after canvas. Not the dark, angry paintings from before. Something different now. Light and shadow. Hope and loss. The complicated beauty of loving. Someone you couldn't have. The exhibition. Invitation sat on her small table. Unopened. Untouched. She couldn't decide if going would be brave or foolish. The day before the exhibition, someone knocked on her door. She opened it expecting a delivery. Found Jackson instead. He looked different. Thinner. Tired. But his eyes were clear. Determined. Before you slam the door, he said quickly, I need 5 minutes. After that, I'll leave if you want. But please, just 5 minutes. She stepped aside. He walked into her studio, looked at the new paintings, stopped in front of one in particular. A man and woman reaching for each other across a distance that might be inches or might be miles. Impossible to tell if they'd ever touch. Is this us? He asked. It's everyone who's ever been too scared to close the distance. He turned to face her. I've been seeing a therapist. 3 times a week, dealing with the foster care trauma, the trust issues, all the damage I've spent my life running from. Jackson, let me finish. I know it doesn't fix what happened. I know it doesn't erase the fact that I hurt you. But I needed you to know that I'm trying. I'm doing the work to become someone who can actually be in a relationship without destroying it. Why are you telling me this? Because tomorrow is your exhibition, and I want you to come. Not for me, for you, for your art, for the career you deserve. But if you do come, I need you to know that I won't be there. That surprised her. Why not? Because I don't want you to feel pressured. I don't want you to worry about seeing me or dealing with complicated emotions when you should be celebrating your work. So I'm removing myself from the equation. The exhibition is yours, completely. You're staying away from your own foundation. For you, yes. The staff will handle everything. Collectors will be there. Critics, gallery owners, everyone who needs to see your work. But I won't be. Unless you want me there, in which case just say the word and I'll be in the front row. Melody felt something crack inside her chest. You'd really do that? Miss your own event? I'd do anything to prove I'm not the same person who ran away. Anything to show you that I'm choosing you over my fear, even if it's too late. She looked at him, really looked. Saw the exhaustion, the hope, the genuine effort behind the words. The exhibition starts at 7, she said quietly. I know. I'll be there at 6:30, setting up, nervous, terrified. You'll be brilliant. Maybe. Or maybe I'll panic and run. Show up and realize I don't belong in that world after all. You belong anywhere your art is. She walked closer to him, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, close enough to remember what it felt like to kiss him. If you're there, she said, if I see you tomorrow night, I need to know it's real. Not guilt, not obligation, not you trying to fix something broken. Real. It's real, Melody. It's always been real, then prove it. Show up, be there. Let me see you choose me in front of everyone. I'll be there. Front row, first to arrive. I promise. He moved to leave. Stopped at the door. One more thing, he said. I'm selling the penthouse. What? The one you mentioned. The one that's on another planet from your world. I'm selling it, moving into something smaller, something real. Because you were right. I've spent my whole life building walls between myself and everyone else, and I'm tired of living in a fortress. He left before she could respond. Melody stood in her tiny apartment surrounded by paintings of distance and hope and complicated love. And for the first time in weeks, she let herself believe that maybe closing the distance was possible after all. The choice, the Sterling Foundation Gallery, was already half full when Melody arrived at 6:30. Her paintings hung on pristine white walls under perfect lighting. Each one looked different here, bigger, more important, more real. Her hands shook as she stood in the center of the room, surrounded by her own work. Years of struggle and invisibility made visible. Dreams painted onto canvas now displayed for the world to see. You're here early. She turned. A woman in an elegant gray suit approached with a warm smile. I'm Sarah Chen, the Foundation's curator. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Your work is extraordinary. Thank you. The collectors are already buzzing. We've had inquiries about pieces before the doors even open. You're about to have a very good night. Melody nodded, but she wasn't looking at Sarah. She was scanning the room, looking for dark hair and brown eyes and a promise made in her tiny apartment. The room was empty except for staff making final preparations. Looking for someone? Sarah asked gently. Jackson Sterling. Is he here? Sarah's expression shifted. Professional sympathy. Mr. Sterling won't be attending tonight. He felt it was important that you have the spotlight completely to yourself. The words hit her like ice water. He wasn't coming. After everything he'd said, after promising, after asking her to believe in him one more time, he wasn't coming. Miss Rivers, are you all right? Melody forced a smile. Fine, just nervous. That's completely normal. Why don't you take a moment? The doors open in 20 minutes. Sarah walked away, leaving Melody alone with her paintings and the crushing weight of disappointment. She'd been a fool. Again. She'd let herself believe that maybe this time would be different. That maybe Jackson had actually meant what he said. That maybe love could win over fear, but fear always won. She knew that. She'd learned it from her mother. From every foster parent who'd rejected Jackson. From a lifetime of being invisible. The doors opened at 7 sharp. Collectors flooded in. Elegant people in expensive clothes. Gallery owners, critics, art dealers. The kind of people who decided which artists mattered and which ones stayed invisible. They moved through the space, studying her work. Some lingered. Some moved quickly. Some pulled out their phones to make calls. The universal language of the art world happening around her. Melody Rivers? She turned. A distinguished man in his 60s extended his hand. Marcus Webb, Webb Gallery in Chelsea. I've been watching for new talent. Your work is exceptional. I'd like to discuss representation. Representation? I think you have a real future in this industry. With the right support, the right exhibitions, you could become quite successful. Are you currently with a gallery? No, I'm not with anyone. Wonderful. Let me give you my card. Call me next week and we'll discuss terms. He moved on. Then another gallery owner. Then a collector who wanted to buy 3 paintings. Then a critic who asked for an interview. The night became a blur of handshakes and business cards and conversations about her work. About technique and inspiration and the emotional depth of her paintings. People saw her. Actually saw her. Everything she'd dreamed of was happening, but Jackson wasn't there to see it. Melody. She turned, hoping irrationally that it was him. Found Victoria instead. Victoria looked smaller somehow. Less dangerous. Just a woman in a dress who'd tried to destroy people and failed. I'm surprised they let you in, Melody said. I came to apologize. What I did was unforgivable. Trying to use you to hurt Jackson. Setting you up. All of it. Why? Because I was in love with him. Because he rejected me and I wanted him to hurt the way I hurt. Petty, pathetic, but true. And now I'm facing criminal charges for the security breach. My reputation is destroyed, and I've lost the only thing I actually cared about, which was his respect. So I came here to tell you that you won. You got everything I tried to take from you. I didn't win anything. He's not even here. Victoria smiled sadly. He's here. He's been here the whole time. He just didn't want you to see him until you were ready. What are you talking about? Victoria pointed toward the back of the gallery. 3rd floor. Private viewing room. He's been watching the whole night on the security cameras, waiting to see if you'd come looking for him. Why would he do that? Because he's terrified of ruining your night. Because he loves you more than he trusts himself. Because he's an idiot, frankly. But he's your idiot if you still want him. Victoria walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Melody stood frozen. 3rd floor. Private viewing room. He was here. She looked around the gallery. Her paintings. The collectors. The gallery owners. Everything she'd worked for. Everything she'd sacrificed for. Her entire career happening in real time. And Jackson was upstairs. Waiting. Watching. Too scared to come down. She made a choice. The elevator ride to the 3rd floor felt eternal. The doors opened into a quiet hallway. One door at the end, light showing underneath. She walked toward it. Knocked. Come in. She opened the door. Jackson sat in front of a bank of monitors showing different angles of the gallery below. He looked up when she entered. His face was raw, vulnerable. Everything he usually hid showing clearly. You came, he said. You weren't downstairs. I didn't want to distract from your night. This is your moment. You should be down there celebrating. Then why are you hiding up here? He stood, walked toward her. Because I'm a coward. Because I'm terrified of ruining this for you. Because I don't know how to love someone without destroying everything. You told me you'd be there. Front row, first to arrive. I was first to arrive. I've been here since 5 o'clock. I just couldn't make myself go downstairs. Couldn't risk taking attention away from your work. Couldn't trust myself not to mess this up. So you're still running? I'm still trying. I'm still failing. But I'm still here. That has to count for something. Melody looked at the monitors, at her art on the walls, at the collectors and gallery owners making her dreams real, at everything she'd ever wanted happening without her. Come downstairs with me, she said. Melody, no. This is your night. Exactly. My night, my choice. And I choose to have you there, not hiding, not watching from a distance. Actually there, with me. What if people talk? What if it becomes about us instead of your art? Then they talk, let them. I'm done living my life worried about what other people think. I'm done being invisible. And I'm done loving someone from a distance because we're both too scared to close the gap. She held out her hand. Jackson stared at it, at her, at the choice she was offering. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Probably not. But I don't deserve you either. We're both damaged, both scared, both terrible at this. But maybe that's the point. Maybe love isn't about deserving someone. Maybe it's about choosing them anyway. He took her hand. They rode the elevator down together, walked into the gallery side by side. Every head turned. Conversations quieted. The crowd sensing something happening. Melody led him to the center of the room, to the painting of 2 people reaching across an impossible distance. I painted this 3 weeks ago, she said, loud enough for people nearby to hear. About 2 people too scared to touch, too damaged to trust, too broken to believe in anything good. She turned to Jackson. But I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to spend my life painting about distance when I could close it. Melody. Jackson's voice broke. Everyone is watching. I know. Let them watch. Let them see 2 people who are brave enough to choose each other, even when it's terrifying. She kissed him in front of the collectors and the critics and the gallery owners and everyone who'd come to see her art. She kissed him with everything she had, all the fear and hope and complicated love she'd been holding back. When they broke apart, the room erupted in applause. Not for the scandal. Not for the drama. For 2 people finally choosing each other over their fear. Marcus Webb from the Chelsea Gallery approached with a knowing smile. That's quite a love story, Miss Rivers. I have a feeling it's going to make your work even more valuable. People love art with a narrative. I'm not interested in being valuable because of who I'm with, Melody said firmly. My work stands on its own. Of course it does. That's why I'm offering you representation. The love story is just a bonus. He walked away. More collectors approached. More business cards. More opportunities. But Melody barely noticed. She was looking at Jackson. At the man who'd hidden upstairs because he was too scared to ruin her night, who'd kept his promise to be there, even if it meant watching from a distance, who'd chosen her in the only way he knew how. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For being here, for trying, for not being perfect but showing up anyway. I'll probably mess this up again. I'll probably get scared and run. I'll probably hurt you without meaning to. I know, and I'll probably doubt you. I'll probably push you away when you get too close. I'll probably make this harder than it needs to be. So what do? We try anyway. We choose each other anyway. We close the distance anyway." He pulled her close. "I love you, Melody Rivers. I love your art and your courage and the way you see beauty in broken things. I love that you crashed my auction and lied about who you were and made me feel something real for the first time in my life. I love you too, even though you're terrified, even though you run, even though you're probably going to break my heart a dozen times before we figure this out." "Only a dozen?" "I'm being optimistic," they laughed. Really laughed, and it felt like freedom. The exhibition continued around them. Paintings sold. Deals were made. Melody's career launched in the way she'd always dreamed. But the best part wasn't the success, or the recognition, or the validation from the art world. The best part was Jackson's hand in hers. The choice they'd made to try. The distance they'd finally closed. 3 months later, Melody moved into Jackson's new apartment. Not a penthouse. A brownstone in Brooklyn with high ceilings and natural light and space for a real studio. They fought sometimes about trust and fear and the damage they'd both carried their whole lives. But they kept choosing each other. Kept showing up. Kept trying. Her second exhibition opened to critical acclaim. Jackson was in the front row this time, not hiding, not watching from a distance, actually there. And when someone asked Melody what inspired her new work, paintings full of light and hope and complicated beauty, she told them the truth. "I fell in love with someone who taught me that closing the distance is always worth the risk." 6 months after that, Jackson proposed. Not with a ring, with a key. "To the brownstone," he explained. "I know you already live there, but I want it to be officially yours too. No prenup, no conditions, just us building something real together." "That's the worst proposal I've ever heard," Melody said, laughing through tears. "I know. I'm terrible at this." "Ask me properly." He got down on one knee in the middle of her studio, surrounded by paint and canvas and the evidence of dreams made real. "Melody Rivers, will you marry me? Will you keep choosing me even when I'm scared? Will you build a life with me that's messy and real and nothing like the fairy tale but everything that matters?" Yes. They got married in the gallery where they'd first closed the distance. Small ceremony, just friends and chosen family. Ruth, the artist from the park, painted a watercolor of the moment they kissed. A gift to hang in the brownstone. And every morning after, Melody woke up next to Jackson and remembered the cream envelope that had started everything. The mistake that had become fate. The lie that had led to truth. She'd crashed high society and tricked a billionaire into caring about her. But what she'd actually done was far more dangerous. She'd closed the distance. She'd chosen love over fear. She'd become visible by being brave enough to be seen. And in the end, that was the greatest art she'd ever created. Not a painting. Not a career, but a life built on choosing each other every single day, even when it was terrifying, especially when it was terrifying. The end.